So I started to use this tape some time ago, that is 15 minutes ago, and they had little gadgets in the center of each wheel that I didn't take out, and I couldn't get it in. I was going to write you a letter while Marguerite was writing her letters. She writes every Sunday night from, well, she writes pretty late sometimes, but tonight we're going down to the final Lenten lecture, which happens on every Sunday night during Lent, except Sunday nights you were here when they had a special deal on. So she's only got 15 minutes left to do her writing, and I thought I would write you a letter. Not being able to write very well, I decided I'd run a tape, and I looked, and I didn't have any 30-minute tape, so I had to settle for a 60-minute tape. So if you get exceedingly bored with this letter, all you have to do is turn your machine off, if you have a machine, and you don't have to listen to any more of it. I won't require that. After you left, the next morning, that is, after you left, I think it was the day after you left that Bill and Esther left, they insisted on calling a taxi also. They called their bus left downtown at 9:30, so they called the bus at, I believe it was 8 o'clock, and figured that would be plenty of time. And the bus didn't come, and the bus, that is a taxi, they called a taxi at 8 o'clock, and it didn't come, and it didn't come, and finally I listened when Esther called, and she said 1043 East Northview Avenue, and so she finally called back and says, yes, but they can't find the place. Again, when she called, says, this is Esther Donnelly at 1043 East Northview Avenue. Well, they said they can't find the place. And I went to the phone and said, well, if you come up 7th Street, turn right on 12th, on State Street. And if you come up 12th Street, turn left on Northview. He still didn't come. So Esther called again, and they said, well, he's up on State Street, but he can't find your address. Well, I said, I went to the phone. Esther asked me to go to the phone. I said, if he's on State Street, he's just 1 block north of us. Why didn't he turn, if he came up 12th, why didn't he turn in on Northview? So, getting pretty late then, putting there 9 o'clock. And Esther and Bill went out to the front of the lawn and looked down and saw the taxi turn on Northview, and he came about halfway to our house down the street, and he started to turn around, back around, and Esther waved at him, and he rushed up, poured on the gas, and pulled up. Come to find out, the operator had given him 1643 East Northview Avenue. Well, there is no 1600 block on Northview. Naturally, he couldn't find the place. I presume what had happened, the girl had written 1043, and when she made her 0, she probably closed it halfway up. So, probably another girl who was a dispatcher or a man looked at it and got 1643. Well, they made the bus all right, and I guess they're home now. Called Joe the other morning. I guess Rose was up and around. This girl, Verla, I guess her name is, the Bean woman, she had called Esther at Havasu City, and when I'd called Bill, I'd called Esther to bid him bon voyage. I left a clock strike the day before they left, and said that she had told them that Rose was on the operating table an hour and a half and had come out fine. And so I guess everything's going along good up there. You notice that clock struck some jillion times. I was going to count it. The darn thing, when Marguerite winds it, it gets off center some way. How many times it struck just then, I don't know, but you probably heard it. Well, it's supposed to be striking 7 o'clock, and it beat that by quite a margin. Marguerite's sister, Bernice, up in Hot Springs, has got a long siege with her broken leg. That darn thing, broke both bones. I don't know how it kept from being a compound fracture, but she's going to have to be in a cast for about 6 months, about half of which will be from her hip to her foot. And so she's not very happy, but I guess she has a lot of people calling on her. As Marguerite said to her over the phone the other day, well, you don't know how many friends you really have until something happens like that. And her sister said to her, well, hope they kept on coming, because it's got a long time in the house, sleeps in the living room on the floor, can't get down. They live in a trailer house that they own, and of course the hallway is very narrow, and the doors into the bedroom are quite narrow, and the bathroom door is quite narrow. She can't get down the hall to the bedroom or the bathroom, so she's got a old-fashioned deal in the living room she uses for bathroom purposes, and sleeps on the living room floor. Well, I see they've settled the truck strike, but from what I hear, the problem isn't over, because the radio said tonight that the mechanics are on strike and the truckers won't pass the picket line, so there'll probably be some problems. I suppose independent truckers will be able to operate, and whether that's true all over the nation or not, I don't know. It's here a hot spot here in Phoenix is true. I don't know, this strike business kind of bugs me. Truckers are, according to my information, making between $20,000 and $25,000 a year, plus fringe benefits. Had a pretty good editorial in the paper the other day about cost of living increases, and they pointed out that, well, I forget what outfit it was. I think it was the auto builders in Detroit, who have a cost of living escalator in their wage agreement. Yet, one of the big items right now in causing the cost of living to rise is medical expense. However, under their contract, the companies they work for pay the entire bill for their medical expense. So they're actually getting, and other things, so they're actually getting cost of living increases, which isn't costing them a dime. And I don't know, I get personally very discouraged with organized labor. I think that at one time they really needed organization, but I think just like everything else, when people attain power, I think it leads to corruption. And certainly the labor unions really have the power at the moment. No congressional action will be taken against any labor union. I suppose that very shortly the right to work law will be ruled illegal, Arizona has the right to work law, which means that action cannot be taken against any non-union outfit, that is by picketing and so forth. If a non-union contractor bills, why, there's certain actions they can take, but it's limited due to the law once they get that. Of course, that was the purpose of the common situs bill, That was to set up so that labor unions could strike everything. And I suppose that they'll get it before it's over with. I suppose eventually the farmers ought to form a big union, and they could just not ship anything for a couple of years, and if they want to sell their cattle for $500 a piece, they could have a cost of living escalator also in their contracts to sell their stuff. We've already priced ourselves out of the world market. Now we're doing a pretty good job of pricing ourselves out of the local market. If it wasn't for the grain that we sell Russia at the moment and other places, our trade deficit would be in the billions. So that the farmer is about the only person who has stuff that's cheap enough to sell overseas. Most of our radios are made in Japan, or all our clothing are made someplace other than the United States. Most of our clothing, they have a deal here in the Southwest where they have assembly plants down in Mexico. There's something in this law which you can stamp something American made, and I don't know whether it's the cutting or what is made in America, and they can ship it down to into Mexico and use cheap labor down there and finish the item and then ship it back, and then it's made in the United States. Of course, there's big squawk on that by the union people, but I suppose eventually they'll beat that thing and pants will go up another $10 a pair, which doesn't make any difference to me because I don't need many pants anyway. I guess it's about time that we go down to the church. I see Marguerite's coming out of here, plonk, 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 plonk on the floor, and she picks up something off the table and returns, so maybe it's not time either. Morning I went down to what they called a quiet day at the church. Father Getz from Sun City was conducting. I got quite a kick out of it in a way. He talked in a kind of a monotone, and I couldn't hear too much of what he said. That is, if you miss about 50% of a sentence, you don't know what the meaning of the sentence is. So on the way home I asked Marguerite. I knew what he talked about, the subject. It was God was the subject. And she said, he was telling a bunch of stuff that the kids asked, questions that they asked. I'd heard them all, she said. I said, what was that? It says, one question that I've been asked was, can God make a rock too big for him to lift? I said, what was his answer? Well, he said he didn't answer it. He evaded the question completely. But she said, with children, you've got to give them an answer. I said, what was your answer? She said, I just told them, God isn't that foolish. She says, people are foolish, like the man who made a boat in his basement and then couldn't get it out of the basement, but said God doesn't do foolish things like that. So that satisfied the kid, and that was, she named other questions, and I got kind of a buzz out of it. It's been a little bit breezy. Marguerite had called to teach Sunday school class this morning, and went down to 9 o'clock, and she had the 4th grade when she has that. When she used to be superintendent, about once a year she would take all the stuff down and show the children how communion was served, that is, the setup. And although that sounds more like girls' work, that is altar guild work, the boys are always interested because they want to become altar boys, you know. Or I guess they call them acolytes in the Episcopal Church. And she spent the morning doing that. I guess they like that sort of thing. Then we went up to a drugstore and was going to buy she wants to buy a mop of some kind that she saw advertised, which is not supposed to drip, so she can wash the ceiling before she paints. But they didn't have any, so she bought a paintbrush. And I was going to buy a 30-minute tape, so I could write, you know. And I guess you're going to get a tape recorder. At least you took a tape home with you. And this is easier than writing with I could write all right, but I can't see the darn lines on the page and can't see what to write, so it doesn't work out very good. Well, this is Wednesday morning, kind of early. I used to get up early like this and do some writing. A lot of it I just put in my file, never sent any place. And being I don't write, I thought I'd write on this letter a little bit. I played it back, didn't say much. Marguerite today is going down to work on a drape in the bride's room. This will be a kind of a busy week for her. Today works on that. Tomorrow will be Thursday, and she makes palm crosses, helps make them. And Friday she has 2 rehearsals in the evening. Saturday, 2 weddings that day, one at 2 and one at 7, I think. And I had something I thought I'd tell you. I had some time ago started to write a paper on Mother. I guess I wrote about 5 or 6 of those yellow legal size sheets, and then my eyes bothered me and I had to quit. I thought that I'd written one on Father. It would be only fair that I give Mother equal time. You know, there's a law about that. You got to give equal time to people. Thinking it over though, probably be better if one of you girls wrote a paper on Mother rather than me, because you had closer contact with her. My recollections of the early days of Mother are somewhat limited. I think the first recollection I have is one time I must have been very sick. Faintly do I remember that Mother putting onion poultices on my chest. And I think the big trouble was an ear business, if I remember correctly. And it finally broke and I came out of it, but I remember Mother sitting up with me at night. And of course, my second real recollection, and the first, you might say, was the spring I spent with her down at Flesham's or something, whatever their name is. That year I came back from Nebraska, and I have a faint recollection of her telling mostly about the time the cow hit me in the head. All I remember of that is really was a dog chasing the cattle, and I tried to imitate the dog. And when that cow chased me instead of the dog, why, I wasn't quite as agile as the dog and unable to get out of their way. But I remember Mother telling about me coming to the door, crying, and she went to the door and her blood was all down my front. And I guess from what she said at that time, why, I was tow-headed, of course, like all the Woodses are in their younger age. Maybe the Randolphs too, I don't know. All the Woodses, or Jacob M. Woodses are. And now I had this dog and followed it every place, and so when she wanted me, all she did was call the dog, and I showed up too. I remember quite a bit about Mother, but I know that you girls have a much clearer memory of her than I do. Of course, she lived with me for a while in Pine Ridge, and other times, I guess Valentine and Phoenix and White River. One thing I always remember about Mother so well is that you could always hear her coming. She walked as if she was going someplace, and in a hurry. But we have a lot of good pictures of her. And, well, enough said on that subject for the moment. I see last night, I suppose it's still true this morning, that Udall won in Wisconsin, and this guy from Washington won in New York. But I suppose the Democrats will end up at a dead heat at convention time, and it wouldn't surprise me if it might be that Brown of California would win the convention, although many people are highly in favor of Hubert Humphrey. I kind of like Brown myself after watching a report on him on Channel 10. He has a kind of a pessimistic outlook on economic conditions that I agree with. He thinks it's about time people start tightening their belt, and I agree with that. He's considered a liberal, but he has certainly run the state of California in good stead during this term. For the first time in years, they're ending this year with I don't know how much of a surplus, a terrific surplus of funds, just because he's refused to go along with all their stuff. I noticed the other day, or just last night really, San Francisco is on this big strike business. I don't know what they are. The transportation is broken down, and now the whole city looks like they might go on strike. I see they asked him what he would do about it. Well, his answer was nothing. He thought it was up to the city to solve their own problems. Time that cities and various local organizations quit depending upon states and the federal government to solve all their problems for them. And getting back to this union business, I see by last night's newscast that the yellow cab's probably going broke, going into receivership. I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen. Yesterday I listened to Channel 5, a local station, on the news, and there had been some editorial about the strike of the this last big one on the truckers, and some postal worker wrote in. I don't know what the postal workers meant. That is, but I presume the average carrier in the city, I suppose their income would be bumping 12,000 average. And he was really crying his eyes out about the poor postal worker. And yet the Postal Service has got a deficit of $1.5 billion. Of course, my philosophy on postal working is it'll never happen. But, gosh, well, Hemlock, all businesses in the city have quit all their delivery service. You can't call any place and have them bring food, do you? You go down to the supermarket. And I've thought for a long time that the real answer to the postal business was to cease all home deliveries and put up little sub-post offices at all trading centers. And then you could pick by choice the one you wanted to get your mail at. You go to the store about 2 or 3 times a week anyway, if not oftener, and just pick your mail up at those places when you do your shopping. That would save, I don't know how many millions of dollars in gasoline. Guys, you see the mailman going down the street. He delivers a few letters here and a few letters there. They have a 40-hour work week, deliver 7 days a week, which means that there's a man in a car making the trip every day. Actually, probably that system wouldn't save a lot of personnel, because they'd have to have personnel at these various small stations. But it would make a tremendous saving in gasoline and vehicles over the years. And maybe then they have, I don't know why they deliver mail to businesses on Saturday downtown. Most of them are closed on the weekend. I'm highly in favor of cutting out Saturday delivery of mail. I don't know what it costs to deliver the mail, but I bet you it's a tremendous amount of money. Any business other than the government would certainly figure out some system to make the darn thing pay off. I don't think this, or from what I read at least, the increase in postal rate hasn't helped a heck of a lot to offset the deficit, because people just wrote less. There's certainly some way that the cost of mail service could be decreased. All this computer stuff doesn't seem to be working very well. That's rather destroying about thousands and thousands of dollars worth of packages by their dumping out, say in Chicago at least, out of the helicopters in the top of the building. It goes down a chute and piles up at the bottom of the building wherever it goes. And